Hello, guys. How are you? This is Rudy, broker for PRG Platinum. Thank you for joining us in person and on Zoom. So sorry for the delay. It's we had a couple of agents from a different office checking us out. Hopefully, they'll become part of our organization as well. There's a lot of movement in the marketplace right now, and certainly people are wanting more of their money in anticipation of what will happen, August 17th and the new era of real estate. So uh, I'm still getting the calls. Is it a good time to buy? People are worrisome about our economy that we're going to spiral into a recession. I mean, if you're with an employer where they can guarantee employment and in an essential job capacity, right? Absolutely, this is a great time to buy a home, and there's different financing programs for different folks. And That's what I'm going to cover today. Our contract on Tuesday was about USDA. So today I'm going to cover the financing on USDA as well. But is it a good time to buy a home right now? The answer to the question is absolutely yes. Right now, the economy is not at its best, but nothing is permanent. Even in life, when you're going through a bad moment, that too shall pass. This bad economy, in my opinion, is the best thing that could happen to us right now while we're heading into these NAR changes, because sellers will realize that the number one thing that a buyer's agent brings is my qualified client. So before you get your people into your corner, make sure they have income, assets, and credit. Find out what they're pre-qualified for. Make sure that what their budget is, and certainly make sure that they not only have money to pay for their down payment, closing costs, but you also need to find out if they're going to have money to pay you for your compensation in the event that no compensation is being offered by the seller, or part of the compensation will need to be covered by them because only 2% is being offered or whatever. So whoever is your lender, whoever is part of your team, they're not going to tell you that they have $20,000 or $200,000 in their Fidelity investment account. What they need to tell you is ask the question. And I had an agent from Laredo because we have access in we have listings throughout the state of Texas, and we're part of a lot of boards. So what ends up happening, I had the agent call me, tell me, what is your agent doing calling my loan officer and asking all of these questions? That's not professional and da 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 da. What kind of questions are they asking? Well, if they have income and assets and credit, and do they need to sell a house before they buy a new one? I'm like, that's what I teach them in classes. Because if you're going to your partner, your advice and opinion to take this off over and on, you need to pick up the phone, right? And interview the loan officer to make sure that the buyer is qualified. And that means that the moment you're telling your seller that your buyer is qualified, I've already verified it, they can close within 30 days. They don't have to sell a car, they don't have to sell a house. You as a listing agent did your due diligence. So knowing the programs uh, is very important. When you're listing a home as well as when you're negotiating a contract. But like I said, you have every right to ask a loan officer questions without them breaking their confidentiality of their ability to purchase. Because, hey, if you were representing me as my agent and you didn't call the loan officer and I packed up my family, sold my furniture, put it in storage, and you didn't even have time to call the loan officer to verify that that was an able, willing buyer, and then all of a sudden the deal breaks uh, bust out that they couldn't close or they were declined, I'd be upset. Okay, so there's not a question that's not off limits when you're the listing agent and when you're the buyer's agent. Hey, Mr. Loan Officer, I'm needing to determine if I'm going to work with this client because you're not in your car in 100-degree weather, with your makeup running and 4-inch bumps, right? You have the right to dictate how your business is going to go. If they don't have any money, If they need credit restoration, they need a gift from mom and dad, they need to sell a car and sell a house and get somebody off, or they need to finalize their divorce. Those are things that you need to be privileged to. Okay. So once again, there's not any question that's off limit. I will back you 100%. Because after you ask and do your due diligence, then your transaction must open or must out at the table. That's not what you do. Okay. And then of course, your buyer might not know any better either. You're helping your buyer because your buyer might not understand, that, okay, well, I was pre-qualified for 300,000, but I think you said something that I needed to give up or rid of one of the cars. Well, what do you mean? How much do you owe? How many payments do you have to get? Or hey, they're telling me to get rid of that house that I inherited from them if you want to go USDA. Because you can't own any other real estate when you're trying to go USDA. So transitioning to USDA financing, and I'll keep it short and brief today, um, is no USDA. No USDA, 100% financing, the lower MI, um, the lower funding fee, um, they've increased their income limits as well. So it's a great program. Not everyone qualifies for it. You do need to log on to USDA.gov, get the property address, and print out the eligibility certificate. And once again, guys, we work as a team. There's a lot of new agents and agents that don't know. And all of a sudden, the brother, sister, cousin elects them to be the listing agent. Well, sometimes if you're working with a buyer, just because it doesn't say USDA on there, doesn't mean it doesn't qualify. It's just the agent doesn't know about the buyer. So check to see if you're outside 1604 or somewhere around the south side or even in the Congress area, 1604 and 90 on heading towards Castroville, 1604 and 90 heading towards Seguin. Those areas are eligible for USDA even inside those 1604. So if you're outside 1604, I can pretty much guarantee that most communities are. They change the maps every year, so you do have to plug it into the website to determine eligibility. Okay, as well as you officer or yourself can actually input. Okay, because you have to turn in tax returns because the tax returns tell us a lot of things. Tells us if you're married, how many children you have, as well as if you in real estate, if there's mortgage insurance, that's what not mortgage insurance, mortgage interest being paid. Because if you own real estate, it disqualifies you. Now I'm going to double back. You can own land, acreage, and a mobile home that is personal property. Because a mobile home that's personal property is not permanently affixed to the ground. And the way that you're going to know is when you pull up the CAD, it will have HUD plates on the present home. And if it has HUD plates, that means it's real estate. Okay. So what ends up happening is USDA is a wonderful program. There are income restrictions. Like I said, they change frequently. Right now, family of one of four, uh, we make up to 103,000 and still qualify. And our present loan amounts, like a family house of, uh, the loan amount that a family of one of four qualifies for is somewhere around 272,000. And usually a family that has 5 to 8 members, they usually qualify for 340. So the cheat sheets are in that email that you got today from us, so that way you can refer to them. I know that many of you guys use different lenders and everything, but you really do need to study what we sent you today, because that happens to be seller concessions, which on a USDA loan, guys, it's up to 6%. Every USDA deal that I have closed in the last 18 months, and the realtors in communication with me, we'd always go in for max closing costs. So that way, in the end, they get even their earnest money back. So if you ask for a title, survey, home service plan, and up to 6% in closing costs, then I need the six. But because rates have been high, we're using the diff. We only really need three or four. But the other 2% can be used for a buy down. Okay. So if the property's been sitting, why not? Why not? Um, the other thing that I'm going to mention to you is the advantages of going USDA. Obviously, it's 100% financing. You have to be in the outskirts of the city. And then, let me see, the funding fee is 1%. So if it's a $272,000 loan, it's 1%. FHA is 1.75. And then VA, well, it depends on if you have a disability or not, right? And then of course FHA 1.75. But then the monthly mortgage insurance is 0.35. FHA is 0.55. So 1% USDA funding fee, 1.75 FHA, 0.55 monthly FHA, 0.35 USDA. So obviously the superior program is USDA. Okay. And the rate is very similar. Okay. The difference is, of course, is that you don't need a down payment if the property is in a USDA area. Okay? So you only need a 620. But that's a manual underwrite. Not every lender can do a manual underwrite. And by the 620, you need rental history, and other things start to happen. The 640 is when you start getting automated loan approval, where it's not going to require you to pay off any collections or anything. Okay. Now, um, it is for first-time home buyers. You're not penalized for having crazy money. I mean, you can have $500,000 in retirement accounts and such. And you work at Caterpillar, you've been there for 20 years, or Toyota, you have $500,000 in there. We're not going to penalize you for that because if you take it out, there's tax penalties. So they're not going to force you to touch it. They won't penalize you for it. Let's see. What's included in your package is the dueness and the make sure that you know that like the bottom of it. Okay. Make sure that you review it with your clients. You can even brand it with a PRG logo if you wish. But use it as part of your buyer's orientation to see, uh, to make sure that you review those things with them. Okay. If you are not doing a buyer's orientation, you need to, because that's when you're going to cover your buyer's representation agreement. If they're going to take the time to drive here, you might as well get them pre-qualified. And then there's times that the client has good credit. They qualify FHA, USDA, and conventional. You need to know that. Whoever you're using as part of your team on the lending side needs to put all options on the table for you because it's all about securing the best deal for your client. And they can't hold anything back. If you have to ask the loan officer about USDA and they don't know, you're using the wrong loan officer. Okay. Okay. So, does anybody have any questions for me? Okay. Alrighty, guys. I want to cover a couple of other things for you. Yesterday, we covered the buyer's representation agreement. The short form, it's used in like houses where you need to go show three flat houses, and then you can transition into the long form. Now, the short form, please use the percentage. Do not put, I'm going to show you three houses for $150, because then how do you get them? When they see that you're going to make 6,000 or 9,000 and you've already signed one where you said you were going to charge them 150, they might want you to rebate all of your commission back to them. So don't do it. Put 3% on the short form, on 34 on the long form, or go to 4%. If that's how much you charge, because we have a lot of agents, even before all of these changes, I'm charging 4% commission just for a transaction fee. Okay. There are a lot of agents. We have a lot of seasoned agents that didn't work for 3%. Okay. Um, and then the other thing is on the long form is where you're able to collect up to 8% if it's new construction, because you don't know if you're going to work within uh, 1 day, 1 week, 30 days, or 2 years. Because you have to develop the land and go through custom home builders and everything. And remember, guys, the maximum allowable compensation allowed by housing and urban development on a trade transaction, FHA, VA, USDA, conventional A paper is 8% compensation. Okay, so that's the reason on new construction, there's builders offering 7. We go ahead and put up to 8. Because if the market continues to deteriorate, trust me, you will see 8% on the table on new construction. Existing up to 4. If you're working with people from out of town, and they are in good faith wanting to purchase a home in the wonderful city of San Antonio and in the great state of Texas, you need to collect a retainer fee. If they're flying in from Mexico or the other side of the world, and come look at half a million and $1 million homes, you collecting a $2,500, $5,000 retainer fee is not unreasonable. And what you can do is write in special provisions that the retainer fee will be reimbursed upon closing. Hey, if you have every intention to purchase this home, you know, um, I'll be more than happy to reimburse you this money at the table. But if you buy nothing, I get to keep the retainer fee as liquidated damages because, once again, I set aside my Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for you, even my family events and such. So what ends up happening is that uh, what ends up happening is that you can buy this just buy anything. Well, yeah, I mean, once again, if you set aside your family time and other clients for them, that's the reason you need to collect that retainer. Okay, especially when they're from out of town, because what they're looking for is for some glorified tour guide. Okay, and that's not what you are. And how we retain this money is a check or where does it? Remember that all the money on a real estate transaction is not it must go through the broker. We can receipt it in and then cut it out to you. If you there's an invoice in report in IDX. And if you're not familiar with IDX, please reach out to us. We'll get you credentials. We'll need to get you trained on it. It's the easiest software on the planet. We've had agents from every company come in, and nobody's ever complained. It's very easy. You create the transaction, you upload your forms, you tell us who are the clears, the title company, the mortgage company, as well as the seller or the buyer, and then you upload your package. It's as simple as that. But then there's a form in there that if you're needing to collect retainer fee, it's in there. And what will happen is that Clint will attach it and we'll send it to them via Square invoice. That way they can pay with a credit card. Yeah. The money comes to us and then we'll get it delivered to you. And also, if it is going to be on we can make me the check and the primary LC. Yes, yes, yes. And then when they the promo of the check is what happens if it bounces. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you can collect the check, but let's say what happens if it bounces. Okay. Well, it's best that knowing that they're coming, we'll get them a Square invoice. The money is and it is delivered to us, within a couple of hours. Kind of like it's cash. Please on Friday that please. Well, that's correct. Correct. So if you have a check, they can reach it. So, okay. Um, the other thing that I want to cover with you guys is um, a lot of people are teaching and preaching different things. But like I said, what I teach on Wednesday is the fact that this is your business. This is your business. You need to dictate how your business is going to go down by you doing a buyer's orientation. And if you don't know how to do one, you need to ask for credentials to log on to our or David Knott's online university. You need to ask for credentials, watch those videos, and learn how to do one where it's a discovery. It's a due diligence process. You're needing to determine if you want to work with them and make sure that the pre-qualification process is done before your orientation. Or hey, before you come, I need to make sure that you're pre-qualified before I decide if I'm going to take you on as a client. Because unfortunately, I don't work with clients under 200,000 because there's very little inventory, and I might need to refer you to someone, right? What I'm getting you at is you need to be able to dictate who you work with and who you don't. And if you're going to take them on as clients based on what their expectations, well, let's say you don't work the Lavernia, you don't work Austin, you don't work Cibolo because you live in Alpha Ridge and it's the commutes too far kind of thing. I don't know. But once again, willing and able buyers what you need to determine and to find out if you're a good fit with them. If not, you can always refer them and still collect a referral fee. Okay, because you're not going to do the listed, but you still need to can still collect 30 or 40% of that referral fee. 30, 40%, 20, 30, 40. So, yes, we are best in your business. We will support you in your business decisions. And like I said, if a buyer does not have the capacity to pay you, you tell them that you will collect the money from seller, the builder. You're a master negotiator. You're going to collect it from concessions. Worst case scenario, there might be a little bit that they might be responsible for. When you start it, we'll try to do your very best to collect on compensation. Okay, but know your programs, guys. You have a seller concession cheat sheet, filters on conventional, conventional VA, and USDA, as well as you have general guidelines on those four programs, as well as what the funding fee is, what the monthly mortgage insurance is. It's stuff that you can hand to your client, stuff that you need to be familiar with. I'm not asking you to be a loan officer, which we the people that do function in both capacities, but once again, we're not asking you to be a loan officer. What we're asking you to do is to be knowledgeable. We're asking you to be informed enough to be able to guide your client. Because if you're in a loan community and you don't know what they're doing, you're in a USDA area because you've already verified. And the salesperson that's there isn't talking about USDA. Come across as being the champion. And if you're in the USDA area, why are you giving them options on USDA rather than FHA or VA from convention? Okay. So how much dictates your earning capacity. Okay. Uh, so does anybody have any questions online? Okay. Alrighty, guys. We have a short intermediary class. Yep, for 1 hour. For 1 hour. And then uh, it actually will be a short intermediary class. It'll be every not coming to one. Huh? Every not coming to one. So we will cover intermediary. Nonetheless, we'll see you guys tomorrow. It's my intent to actually have shorter videos breaking down everything that I've covered these last 8 weeks, so that way you can they're 3 to 5 minutes, so that way you can take as many as you can and break out the most important bullet forms. Like on Monday, I probably will cover just uh, one section rather than the entire section. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Thank you. And if you guys have any questions, remember, we're always here to support you and support your business. Have a good day.